Hello everyone, and welcome to another Pokemon ranking video. I've already done starters, I've already done pseudo-legendaries, and now we're on to the legendaries, the king of Pokemon. We're going to see who is number one, and to remind you on how I grade this, it's mostly by appearance, kind of like typing, just how cool they are, and do they feel legendary to me. I have a second opinion in my cousin who's played all the Pokemon games, and he's been locked in ever since we were kids. So I have two opinions here. We kind of worked our list together, and we're going to get right into it because there are 60 lines. If there's an evolution, I kind of boxed them in together. If there's fusions, they're all one Pokemon, which I'm not a fan of the fusions, so you'll see them soon. And then any Megas, Gigantamaxes, or any other alternate forms are all lumped into that original Pokemon. So we're going to start the list here, 60. So I'm going to move pretty fast through the first 30, and then we're going to slow down a little bit once we get into the top 30. First off, and there had to be a bottom here, it's Necrozma. It doesn't look like a Pokemon, it looks like a machine, and it kind of makes Solgaleo and the Luna look worse, so it's number 60. Number 59 is Enamorus. I don't know what this is. I don't even know why they added a fourth force in nature. I don't know why it exists. Eternatus and Eternatus, just they don't look like Pokemon. They look like something you find like space garbage. So they're number 58. Zygarde is the same kind of thing. The middle snake one is okay. The last one, this looks like a transformer or something, and then the other one's just a dog. So they're number 57. Wu-Chen is one of the newer ones, and it's literally garbage. It's all right. I just don't care for it at all. Tinglu's the same thing. It's just a bowl with a rock bowl thing. I don't see. Half of these ruinous Pokemon are down here, but the other half are actually pretty high up. So we're just gonna move on here to Calyrex. It's just a little dude on horses. I like what they tried here. For some reason, I think it's a Calyrex problem, not the horse Pokemon's problem. I think it's just that Calyrex is too weird to me. Urshfu's a dude in a costume, so that might not be fair. But I these bipedal Pokemon that look like people, I just tend to not like. That's case in point. Thundurus is it's just a guy. This one, people are gonna be upset about this one. Zacian and Zamazenta together they're both 51 and 50. They're just dogs with armor on them, and I feel like the reason I don't like them is because there's other legendary dogs that are done better. That might not be fair to Zacian and Zamazenta. A lot of people would have these higher on their list, but they're just the worst version of dogs that we've seen. So this was also more my cousin's preference. He hates these Pokemon. Mine would be a little bit higher, but it'd be kind of averaged out around this spot. Moving into Tornadus. His bird form is alright, but again, I don't like the Force Nature's just guys on clouds. They don't feel legendary. They just feel like a guy in a cloud in the sky. It's supposed to be out of the movie like Aladdin. Virizion is just not a strong legendary. It doesn't feel legendary. I could see this running around in middle stages of the game. It doesn't feel like a legendary to me, sadly, because I think it has the potential to be cool. It's just it doesn't feel special. Heatran's the same thing. It kind of looks like a meatball with armor. Heatran didn't work for me. I appreciate the effort here, but it just doesn't work. Kyurem is a victim of the whole fusion thing. Kyurem itself is fine, and I just don't like the fused forms at all. Kyurem by himself, if we were to eliminate the other two forms, would probably be a little bit higher on the list, but the fusions hurt it enough that it falls to 46. The Tapus in general, I don't love, but I don't hate. Tapu Bulu, I think, is the worst of them, followed closely by Tapu Lele. The other two I think are much better, but these two are just kind of basic to me, and I could see these being a third evolution of a Pokemon in the wild. The weakest of the Lake Spirits for sure is, I think this one is Mesprit. It just looks kind of goofy with the pink head, and I like the other ones. This one just feels kind of goofy to me, and I'm not a giant Lake Spirit guy. Surprisingly, Koraidon's this low. This is a really silly reason to not like him, but I can't stand that he has tires built into him and he still walks. It drives me crazy. He's a cool typing, he has cool moves, but the tire in his chest just like it drives me crazy, and I just can't put him that high because of it. It's such a pet peeve thing. I try to take my bias out of these rankings, but there's such a missed opportunity here, and I feel like Koraidon, if they did him justice, would be much higher. Cobalion is just kind of odd. His face is weird. Fighting Steel is cool. He's not terrible. He's an okay legendary, but the other ones above him are just better. The only Therian form that I really like the Forces of Nature, is Landorus because I like his Therian form a lot. I still, the guy in the cloud hurts him a lot, but I actually like Therian Landorus. Type Nulls is kind of odd. It's technically classified a legendary. It doesn't jump out as a legendary, but I kind of like the design of the two. So I think they're a solid line together, but they don't feel legendary. I was surprised they were classified as legendary. I thought they'd be mythicals, but we move on. This is the first Gen 1er that's here. I personally can't get past the design of the original Moltres. It looks like this skinny chicken that's on fire, and it's clearly the weakest of the three birds in my mind. The Galarian form actually helps it. It's this giant bird of death now, but Moltres is definitely the weakest in Gen 1 in my opinion. I know there's a lot of people who love Moltres aren't going to be happy about this, but just looking at the design as a whole, and especially with the form, I think 38 is a fair spot for it out of 60. Latios and Latios are similarly ranked, Latios being the lower one because he doesn't have the personality Latios does. I like the jet design personally. I actually really like this. They'd probably be a little higher if this was just my list, but kind of averaging it came down a little bit. They're just kind of plain. They do feel legendary as roaming, and the megas are fine. I don't like the hands on the mega, how they put these like back hands on them, but they're just kind of plain, and they don't have some of the special sauce that the rest of the legendaries above it have. Tapu Fini is actually kind of cool. I like Tapu Fini. Again, Tapus have the problem of some of them don't feel super legendary. This one feels a little more legendary. I really like that the shell can close up. I think Tapu Fini is pretty cool. Cresselia I thought was mythical until doing this video, but it's actually legendary. I thought it was paired with Darkrai and mythical, but Cresselia is about, I would say, the average point. This looks legendary. It looks like something special, but it's just overall not super strong compared to things above. Latios goes above Latios because of its personality and kind of like the goofiness of it, but again, they're just kind of plain. Terrakion I like, actually. Terrakion is a cooler one. The rock fighting is cool, and he just isn't in competition for things above it, sadly. Miraidon I think is the better of the two Paradox legendaries from Scarlet and Violet. I actually really like Miraidon. I think he's cool. I think the futuristic theme was done very well. It's just, it might be he's too new. I'm not sure comparatively why he felt this low. He just feels, he might be too new, but the other things just feel stronger. He definitely feels legendary. Tapu Koko is definitely the best of the Tapus. I actually really like this one, and it feels more legendary. I think it's because you see it in the story first type of thing. But yeah, I like this one. Regigigas I think is actually the worst of the Regis, even though it's like all of them combined, like the Omega Regi. But I think the grass is kind of odd, and there's just some weird things with the hands. I think it's the worst of the Regis, but still, this is in the top half of legendaries now, so I'd like most of these Pokemon moving forward. Uxie is the middle of the Lake Spirit. The gold looks better than the pink, and just generally is okay. Regirock is exactly what he is. He's a bunch of rocks, but he has a very distinct theme, and he feels legendary when you see him, in the game at least. Palkia actually fell because I really don't like the new form of Palkia. Legends Arceus did a lot of Pokemon dirty with their forms, and I think Palkia and Dialga getting this Arceus form just doesn't work for me at all. And that might not be fair, but it doesn't look good. Regular Palkia is fine, but considering them both together, Palkia definitely falls. Zapdos is at 26. I actually like both forms of Zapdos. It just, when you rank them next to everyone else, it has to go somewhere and end up going below the Pokemon above it. Yveltal is very cool. Its shiny is amazing, and I really like Yveltal. Again, things above it are stronger. It's making a Y is kind of cheesy, but I actually kind of like it. Moving on to Regidrago, I really like Regidrago. His signature ability where he turns on his side and kind of opens up and shoots a beam out of its mouth is super cool. I like both the new Regis a lot, but yeah, Regidrago is awesome. Articuno I think is the best of the birds on aggregate when you consider both forms. I think Zapdos' original form might be the best form, but both Articunos are like second and third in my opinion. So I think on aggregate you move Articuno above Zapdos. Dialga as its space form is very cool. I like Steel Dragon. When he uses his move, those like lighter blue areas light up on him. But again, they got this weird forms in them on Legends Arceus, and I I don't know why they did it the way they did it. I get it on a story perspective, but I just don't like the way they look at all. Zekrom is very cool, but he has the problem of just being all black. I think if there was some more accents to him or something else with his design, he would be much better in my opinion. It just having that all black thing, sometimes it's hard to even like see the detail in him because he's so dark. But yeah, when he lights up, he's cool. It's a cool Pokemon. It just being monotone kind of hurts it. Now, I really love this Pokemon. This is my personal favorite of the Ruinous Pokemon. If I was let my bias in, this would go higher. This little goldfish, one of the Ruinous Pokemon, is so cool. Its shiny just got like kind of leaked, and it's like bright blue and fire instead of red fire, and I can't wait for that. This Pokemon is super cool. I really like it. But number 20 is where we kind of averaged out when ranking it. Definitely the best of the League Spears is Azolf. It has the most personality. I kind of like its look the best. And I think you kind of see it more in the game, so that kind of helps it. Reggie is awesome. I personally have Reggie with my bias list much higher than this. I don't know if that's nostalgia or what it is, but I like Reggie design. It's very straight to the point. It's very basic, but he's a very cool Pokemon. Now, Solgaleo, I don't think it's enough love. The whole line's here because technically he evolves from Cosmo to Cosmoem to Solgaleo, but Solgaleo is very cool. Psychic Steel Lion with the galaxy in its head is really cool. I think this Pokemon is underrated, and I think there's an argument it could be higher. Regieleki is my favorite Reggie, other maybe not nostalgia wise over Steel, but like just design, purely how it looks. Regieleki is awesome. It's one of the best additions from those Sword and Shield DLCs, and I like it a lot. Reggie Ice is up this high because I think it's the most like solid Reggie design, and also it's very high up my cousin's list. It was in his top 10 for sure. So when we average it, it kind of landed here. Now, the best of the legendaries in Scarlet and Violet, in my opinion, is Chien-Pao. I love this Ice Dark Leopard. This thing is so cool. I hope they make more Pokemon along this line. It's an animal. It doesn't look human-like. It is very, very cool, and I absolutely love this legendary. Next time I do this list for the next generation, I'm sure it's going to creep up my list because of how much I like it. It actually has a decent shiny, too. It turns it like a mud color, like all muddy, but it's like crystals and ice parts get all shiny. Really cool. My nostalgic number one, personally, is Lugia. This is the one I had in my first game. I love this Pokemon. Probably top 5 Pokemon of any, like a whole Dex, national Dex, is Lugia. I love this Pokemon. I think it's classic. I think it's very well designed. I think it's very, very solid. Taking my bias at it, it doesn't beat what's above it. Sadly, it hurts me to put it outside the top 10, but I think this is a fair ranking for Lugia. Xerneas is an extremely cool Pokemon that I think doesn't get the love it deserves. It's like rainbow antlers and its swords for feet. It's just a very cool Pokemon. It looks legendary. It kind of captures that I'm important kind of feel, like this Pokemon's one of one type of feel that I think legendary is supposed to go for. And I think Xerneas is a very, very good like representation of that. Entei is the lowest of the Gen 2 legendary beasts. I think Entei gets a little bit overhyped because of its like role in the movie Pokemon 2000, and I think that it's a very good Pokemon, but I think it's actually the weakest of the 3 legendary beasts in my opinion. Coming up number 10 right after is Raikou. Raikou is a super cool Pokemon that feels legendary. It looks fierce and it looks just super intimidating. And I think this is what you kind of want. And this is like the blueprint for legendaries. Everything above this does it a little bit better, and everything below it does a little bit worse. This feels special, and that's what you really look for in a legendary. Groudon is the ruler of land. He is super cool, and Groudon is so intimidating, and I think its Omega or Mega form is even better. I really, really like Omega Groudon. His shiny makes him all black. I think this is just like, again, solid legendary, easily top 10 material. It's just the competition is really, really tight. Right above it, barely above it, in my opinion, I'd probably swap these two and put Kyogre below it. But Kyogre's number 8, and its Omega form is also great. Everything about the Gen 3 starters as a whole, Gen 3 legendaries as a whole is super good. They're done very, very well. Moving on to Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh is what Moltres wishes it was. Ho-Oh looks majestic. When you climb that tower and see Ho-Oh, that is a legendary Pokemon. That is something that is special and that is more powerful than everything else in that region. Ho-Oh is amazing. Now, surprising some is Luna. I love this Pokemon. I think the early line is fine, but Luna itself is super super cool. Representing the moon, it's kind of translucent in game. It has the galaxy like Solgaleo on its head. It's just a very very cool Pokemon. And I'm like, the more I look back at Sun and Moon, is I didn't love the game as a whole, but these legendaries are awesome. Luna and Solgaleo are so underrated in my opinion. I really like this Pokemon, and number 6 feels great to me. Number 5 is Giratina. Giratina is like, I guess, the devil of the Pokemon world. The altered form looks kind of odd sometimes. I look at it. I like it still. It's still very, very good. But the 6 legs is kind of odd. But the origin form of Giratina is like amazing. The shiny is great. I don't have anything bad to say about Giratina. There's nothing I would change except maybe leave him in origin form all the time. Number 4 is Reshiram. Reshiram nails the majestic feel. While Zekrom is all one color and it kind of doesn't work for him, it works better for Reshiram because he's brighter and he has the metal pieces around him. And when he uses an attack, his tail lights up fire, like super fiery. So this Pokemon, where it doesn't work for Zekrom, it actually works for Reshiram in my opinion. Suicune is the best of the legendary beasts in my opinion, and easily a top 3 legendary. This thing is incredibly cool. The flowing like ribbons and the majestic like purple hair, like it is so so cool. I mean, it's cool enough they put him on the front of Pokemon Crystal. This Pokemon is one of my favorites personally, and just design wise, Suicune is awesome. I wish he was a little better in like stuff like Pokemon Go because they lowered his CP, but I love Suicune. Number 2 is the OG Mewtwo. Mewtwo is a science experiment gone wrong that can wreak havoc on everybody. He's the Pokemon of like nightmares, basically. An evil team created a monster and it's capable of anything and it's the strongest out there. Mewtwo is done super, super well. It does the humanoid thing in a way that doesn't make it feel like a person. It makes it feel like a lab experiment, like it is. It's like the thing on the back of its head and just the way its tail comes out, it makes it feel less human. And I think that's why it gets away with like the human look. And number 1 is the king of all Pokemon, in my opinion, is Rayquaza. Rayquaza is so perfectly designed. He is the one that comes down and stops Groudon Kyogre. He is the top of the food chain. He is the apex. And Rayquaza is Rayquaza. He is king of Pokemon in my opinion. My cousin argued for Mewtwo being number 1, but I think it's Rayquaza. His Mega form is excellent, and it's like the black shiny on Rayquaza is insanity. This Pokemon is, in my opinion, what feels the most legendary, and just its experience seeing it for the first time, nothing beats Rayquaza in my opinion. All right, so those are all 60 legendaries ranked. That was a lot of Pokemon. That was a lot of slides to make, but I enjoyed it. I thought our list came out pretty well. Let me know what you would change. Is there any that are way too high, any that are way too low? And if you like the list, give me your personal top 5. Soon we're gonna be ranking the mythicals, the like Ultra Beasts, and then the regional birds like Noctowl's one of them, Corviknight, Pidgeot, Swallow, those kind of things. So please stick around for the next video, and I'll see you there. Oh, I know, buddy. I know you wanted Zamazenta and Zacian higher. I know. I know. I'm sure everyone in the comments is gonna agree with you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.